Right now at 6, the fix lawmakers are finally considering after KGW highlighted how they could easily stop scammers from stealing food benefits. Plus,
myself and other individuals would like to hear that they acknowledge that there's fear in the community.
The debate over what local leaders can legally do when it comes to immigration arrests. Then, why Labor Secretary and former Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer and some of her staffers are reportedly being accused of misconduct. And later,
3, 2, 1, yay!
The flame is lit for LA 28? How you can already score tickets for the Summer Olympics as we count down to Milan Cortina. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. First at 6, a follow-up to a KGW investigation into food assistance fraud. Those EBT cards that in Oregon have no chip, making it easy for criminals to steal the funds. Now, the governor wants to do something about it. You might recall it's a problem investigator reporter Kyle Aboshi has been tracking for years. Kyle?
As you may recall, there is a simple fix here. Upgrade the Oregon trail cards by adding smart chip technology. Currently, Oregon still uses the old-fashioned EBT cards with a magnetic stripe and no chip, making them vulnerable to fraudsters. Oregon lawmakers are considering a proposal to help protect low-income families from having their food assistance stolen by scammers.
And a major EBT card security enhancement in response to organized criminal activity, including skimming and benefit theft.
On Tuesday, the Oregon Department of Human Services and the governor proposed that the state legislature fund chip-enabled EBT cards to strengthen security against skimming. Crooks often skim Oregon trail cards by secretly attaching a small device to a checkout machine that sends card numbers and pins back to the thieves, who then create fake cards and drain accounts.
I mean, to take from people that are already struggling, it's a certain kind of evil.
Over the past 3 years, KGW has reported on low-income Oregonians who had SNAP benefits stolen.
I'm like, this can't be. I know there is money in there.
We rely on those food benefits to eat.
My money was gone, and I didn't understand what was going on.
In November alone, there were 440 thefts involving Oregon trail cards, according to Oregon DHS, totaling more than $91,000 in stolen benefits. In 2024, the USDA pushed states to modernize SNAP benefits, including the introduction of chip cards for SNAP EBT.
At what point do we start going, okay, this is too easy. We need to beef up our security here.
The proposed upgrade to chip-enabled cards would cost an estimated $12 million, split between the federal government and the state of Oregon. The governor is pushing state lawmakers to approve the proposal during the upcoming legislative short session.
I mean, really appreciate the follow-up here because this has been a long road. In the meantime, is there anything people who have these cards can do to protect their benefits?
First of all, freeze your card when you're not using it. It's an extra layer of protection. You can unfreeze it when you're ready to make purchases. Also block out-of-state purchases. That'll help. And finally, monitor your account and report any suspicious activity right away.
Good tips and good to see some movement on this. Thanks so much, Kyle. By the way, if you have a problem or a challenge for Kyle to investigate, you can give him a call anytime at 503-226-5041, or you can email callkyle@kgw.com. In your headlines tonight, 2 Portland police officers have been injured in a hit-and-run crash. Authorities say a cruiser was responding to a call with lights and sirens on just before 3 when an SUV crashed into it and then took off. This was near Southeast 148th and Stark. Both officers went to the hospital with minor injuries. Authorities say this is the vehicle that hit them, a dark-colored Chevy Suburban with possible front-end damage. If you spot it, please contact Portland Police. Oregon's Attorney General, along with other states, are now suing the federal government over a policy that could cut funding to states that provide care to transgender people. Department of Health and Human Services now requires states to certify they will treat transgender people according to their sex assigned at birth. AG Dan Rayfield arguing that forces agencies to deny care to transgender people or risk losing federal funding. He and 11 other AGs are now asking a court to block that policy. Well, speaking of lawsuits, a federal court will hear arguments tomorrow over the Trump administration's demand that Oregon hand over voter registration data. In this case, the administration is suing Oregon after Secretary of State Tobias Reed refused to hand over voter data when requested last summer. Federal officials wanted voter names, birth dates, addresses, and driver's license numbers or partial social security numbers, they say, as part of efforts to verify citizenship status on voter rolls. Reed said he didn't trust that the administration was capable of protecting Oregonians' data. And the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians are set to ask the state tomorrow to limit motorboats in part of the Siletz River. That's according to OPB. The tribes want to prohibit boats on about 28 miles of the waterway, or rather motorboats, saying they harm salmon and steelhead during spawning. Tribal leaders also say motorboats give anglers an unfair advantage and have created tension on the water. A state committee will present rule options to the Marine Board after tomorrow's meeting. Joe?
David, we're looking at another round of sunny and warm conditions, at least for mid-January. Case in point, up in the Oregon Cascades where we have that inversion layer, that just means it's warmer up above than it is below. 53 degrees right now. I know it's dark, but you get the idea. A lot of that snow that we saw last week is slowly starting to melt. Air quality alerts will be in place throughout the east side of the state. Meanwhile, a dense fog advisory will be taking effect tonight through tomorrow, a good portion of the day tomorrow because of the very dense fog, and it's going to make visibility very poor out on your Wednesday morning commute. As we look at the air quality right now, it's in the moderate category, and it could change a little bit, but I don't expect it to go dramatically for the unhealthy or very unhealthy. But regardless, if you could limit your time outside if you have any respiratory issues, is a good idea. The visibility is already kind of deteriorating through parts of Yamhill and Washington County. Hillsborough down to a quarter of a mile, McMinnville down to a quarter of a mile as well. And here in the next couple of hours, that fog is going to be rolling into the metro area, making your morning commute very challenging. I'll talk more about that and how long this dry stretch is going to last coming up in my detailed forecast.
Thanks, Joe. See you in a few. Developing tonight, Labor Secretary and former Oregon Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer is reportedly at the center of a misconduct complaint with two of her top staffers now on leave. Devin Haskins is in the newsroom to break down the allegations. Devin?
Well, David, the news was first reported by the New York Post on Friday, alleging Secretary Chavez-DeRemer abused her position, drank on the job, and had an extramarital affair with a staffer.
Several reports say a complaint has been filed against former Oregon Congresswoman and current Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez-DeRemer. KGW News reached out to the Department of Labor's Office of Inspector General to confirm the complaint, but was told by a spokesperson that, quote, "It is the policy of the DOL OIG to neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of any OIG investigation or complaint beyond what is published on our website." According to several national news reports, in that complaint, Chavez-DeRemer is accused of abusing her position by using work trips to make personal visits to family and friends. The New York Post reported that Chavez-DeRemer would direct staffers to, quote, "make up official trips for vacations with friends and family." Over the past year, the Labor Secretary has been on a mission to visit all 50 states as part of her America at Work listening tour. In August, she visited Oregon. The New York Times and Politico both reporting that the Secretary's top two staffers are now on leave for facilitating those trips. When KGW requested information on the two staffers, a Department of Labor spokesperson told KGW, "It is the policy of the Department of Labor not to comment on personnel matters." Also in that report, it says on at least 5 occasions, Chavez-DeRemer pursued an inappropriate relationship with an unnamed staff member, and that Chavez-DeRemer would drink alcohol in her office. Secretary Chavez-DeRemer was elected to Congress in 2022, but lost her re-election bid for Oregon's 5th Congressional District in 2024. She was appointed as Labor Secretary by President Trump in March of 2025.
KGW News reached out to the White House and the Department of Labor for comment on the complaint reports, but so far have not heard back. According to that New York Post report, though, a White House spokeswoman called the allegations baseless. So far, no report of the findings have been listed on the Inspector General's website. David?
Devin Haskins in the newsroom. Thanks, Devin.
Across the nation, we are seeing schools being targeted by the current administration's immigration enforcement actions. Regardless of your position on the tactics being deployed, the reality is that our schools are being impacted and absenteeism is up.
Well, that is Oregon Representative Sarah Finger McDonald testifying to the House Interim Committee on Education Day on a bill that would require schools to notify families and staff when immigration agents are on school property. Tonight on KGW News 11, we'll take a closer look at that proposal and other bills under consideration this session. Well, speaking of immigration, city leaders in McMinnville are meeting tonight to discuss the city's role in dealing with ICE arrests in public spaces. Some residents have demanded McMinnville follow the lead of other cities like Hillsborough, Woodburn, and declare a state of emergency. But city officials say they're trying another technique. They've narrowed down a list of changes to help support residents affected by ICE activity. 1, requesting data from the federal government on each arrest and the reasons for it. 2, posting notices on city buildings about the need for judicial warrants for enforcement actions. And 3, banning the use of drones near schools. City leaders say figuring out what they can do legally is a bit of a challenge.
The legal standpoint of not interfering with the federal investigation versus the state's duty to not intervene in federal enforcement action. So it requires a fair amount of legal work and analysis, and that just takes time.
City Council says it hopes to reach a consensus tonight on which ideas to pursue in the short term.